What's up, everybody? Benji Bruce here, Speaking Lifestyle. Today we're going to talk about your online programs for your speaking business. If you don't have online programs, we're going to talk about building it, selling it, that whole shebang, the whole shadoodle. So let's see who's hopping on real quick. The reason why I want to talk about this today is because, hold on a second. There we go. All right, so we got about 20 billion people who hopped on this morning. What's up, Maggie, Alex? Saad, all you guys. All right, so I want to talk about building and selling online programs for your speaking business. This is something that you want to do after you reach a certain amount of income inside of just getting paid gigs. Because if you try to do both, if you try to build online programs and you try to get paid gigs at the same time, you're going to be doing too much and then you're going to end up getting nothing done. So I want to make sure that you understand, hey, I'm only going to build an online program after I hit, let's say, $250,000. That's what you want to have going on inside of your head. You don't want to just do it just instantly. So what's up to Kimia? I think I'm saying that right. To Kimia. What's up, Kathy? What's up, Wani? So yeah, essentially, I just want to make sure you guys understand that you're only going to build the online program after you get everything mastered in terms of getting on stages. So it's like the same thing in terms of what I was doing in terms of building the entire business. In the beginning, all I did was focus on just getting on stages, didn't care about selling from the stage, didn't care about online products, didn't care about coaching, none of that stuff. I was just like, let me just get on a stage. And the reason is because people completely underestimate they underestimate the level of activity they need to engage in to get what they want, whether it's online programs, whether it's getting on stages. They just underestimate the level of activity. And so when you try to do both, you're definitely underestimating the level of activity, which means you just don't get either one of them done as fast as you think. And so I do want to talk about just building and selling the online programs, because just recently we closed a deal with a real estate brokerage for a whole lot of dough, a whole lot of moolah. And I haven't even created the program yet, to be honest. I mean, I have some of it, but I don't really have all of it. So I just want to talk about that. And if you guys have any questions, make sure you ask right now, and then I'll go back to them. So you said the I is silent. So Takima. All right, cool. So I'll remember that. Takima. All right, cool. So what's up, Wendy? What's up, Nick? Paul, what's up? So in the very beginning, when you are building your online programs for your speaking business, you essentially, well, no matter what you do, you're always thinking about the customers, but it's really, really important to think about customers when you're building the online portion of your speaking business. So I want to point out with the online portion, this is going to help you get to $1 million, basically. So if you're contacting events, let's say you hit a point at 250 grand or 500,000, you hit that point a year, and then it's like you can't really do more than what's going to take it to the next level is doing the online programs, because that's where you don't actually have to be there to sell it, none of that sort of stuff. So you can just keep selling it, and that'll allow you to hit $1 million. So first things first, you got to understand the product to market fit. That's the very first thing you're going to do with your online programs, is that whole product to market fit. This is where you're essentially thinking about your $1 million offer. This is where you're trying to create an offer that people truly want to buy, something where they're insanely frustrated enough to buy. And this is why I keep telling people you want to make sure you're in the right market. If you're in the wrong market, it doesn't matter how good of a marketer you are, doesn't matter how ambitious you are, doesn't matter. If you're in the wrong market, you can't really sell anything to that market. You won't hit that $1 million mark. And so if you're going to create $1 million offer, you have to think of $1 million market, meaning you want to look at who else is in that market, how much are they making, or how much does it look like they're making, how many people are inside of that market. So first things first, before you start creating your program, look at the actual market, look at the actual offers people have. You're simply asking yourself, is the audience big enough? That's what you're mostly asking yourself, is it big enough? What I tend to do is I always go to Quora, the Quora.com. I go to that website and I just look at people inside the market that I want to create a product for. I just look into that market, look at the questions. I'm looking at the size of that market. They have the actual number of followers for each topic. So if you look at, I think the number one topic on Quora is technology. There's, let's say, 30 million people who follow that topic or something. So I'm looking at how many people follow this topic. If there's only 1,000 people who follow the topic, then I'm thinking, oh, damn, it's a bad market, right? So that's essentially what I'm doing when I go to Quora. What I'm doing ultimately is I'm looking to see what are the products that other people have, that other people are selling. That's what I'm doing in the beginning. In the beginning, people, they come too much from their perspective. That is why they don't sell anything. I can't stress that enough. If you're not selling something, it's because you're thinking too much of yourself and you're not thinking about the other people that you want to sell to. So in the beginning, you have to, well, not in the beginning, throughout the entire time, you're simply focusing on what exactly do they want to buy. You're focusing on the market, what products already exist, and how do they describe those products. So that's what you're really looking at, is how people describe the products that they're selling. You don't really know if they're selling a lot of those products. So I'll give you a perfect example. Tony Robbins, top speaker out there, billionaire. I'm pretty sure he's a billionaire, but he's like the top speaker out there. Then you have someone like Grant Cardone. I mean, he's still a top speaker, but if you look at the two, you would assume Tony Robbins is selling way more programs than Grant Cardone. That's not true at all. Grant Cardone outsells Tony Robbins like a mofo because, I mean, his product in terms of sales training is more tangible and everything like that. And so you essentially want to look at the products that people have, look at how they're describing it, and you can kind of get an idea in terms of how much they're selling, but not really. There's really no way to know. It's very similar to Instagram, right? So if you go to Instagram, you look at people who have 500,000 followers or 100,000 followers, you look at them, you would think, oh, damn, they're an influencer. They're probably making a ton of money. Damn near every single one of them is broke as a joke. Every single one of them just has a normal job. They're not making any money. And you look at somebody else who has a following of 3,000, that dude's doing 7 figures a month. I know this to be true because that's what my friends are doing. It's the same thing. They got 3,000 followers, 7 figures a month. And so the same goes with products. Just because you see someone selling a product doesn't mean that product is actually selling. What you need to do is you simply need to look at how they describe it, and you're looking at different ways that other people are describing it, and that you're just simply getting information in the beginning. That's what you want to do just to truly understand who the customer is, because you're truly focusing on that specific customer. You're focusing on what exactly does this person buy. So if I'm selling to a CEO, I will not create an online product for that CEO. Because why? A CEO doesn't sit down. They don't have time to sit down and look at an online program. They just do not have time to do that. Instead, a CEO, they'll do something like coaching. They'll go to an event, maybe, but they're more likely to go to an event than they are to do an online program. So that's why you really, really have to think about the customer to begin with when you're creating your online programs. By the way, guys, remember, if you have any questions, make sure you ask, and I'll get back to them later. What's up, David? What's up, Barbara? So in the beginning, you're really, really thinking about the actual customer. Just like I said, CEOs, they don't have time to freaking do your online program. It just doesn't matter how great the online program, they do not have time for that stuff. And on the other hand, they have time to do coaching. They're much more willing to do coaching. They're much more willing to attend events. So that's why you really want to think about things like that from the very get-go. And in the beginning, you're simply thinking about what's the problem that it solves, and you want to think in terms of very tangible. So when I approach the real estate brokers, I know that the problems that they have is some of the real estate agents, they come in and they say, how are you going to help me actually sell? Like, how are you going to help me get actual clients in terms of buyers and sellers? How are you going to help me with the leads? How are you going to help me with the marketing and all that? They say, oh yeah, we're definitely going to help. And then all of a sudden, before they know it, agents come in and then they leave. I call them what is that name for the people who go to the hospital all the time? Hype. What is that name where people go to the hospital all the time and they think they have problems and they just keep going from doctor to doctor? Hype. Dang it, somebody knows. It's literally off the tip of my tongue. But basically, a lot of real estate agents, they'll join, let's say, RE/MAX, and then they'll stay there for a couple months, and they'll go switch to Keller Williams. They'll stay there for a couple months, and they'll go switch to Century 21. They keep doing that. And so as a brokerage, they don't want that. They don't want realtors coming in and just switching immediately. So that's what I addressed when I was talking to the real estate broker. I say, look, man, if you actually train your people in the marketing, they're not going to switch from brokerage to brokerage. They're going to basically just stay with you guys because you're actually training them in marketing. Hypochondriacs, that's the word, right? Damn it. I call them hypochondriac realtors. So the hypochondriac realtors, they just keep switching. It's literally, they're just like, all right, sure, I'm going to do RE/MAX. Oh man, all right, you know what? Forget it. I'm going to do Keller Williams. They just keep switching. And so it's a hypochondriac realtor. And that's essentially what I was telling the brokerage. I'm like, hey man, we're going to help these hypochondriac realtors. I even said those words. So we're going to help these hypochondriac realtors so they don't keep switching, and leaving your brokerage. So that's what I'm essentially thinking. That's what you want to think to begin with before you actually create the program. Because once again, let's say you're thinking, I'm going to sell to CEOs, and you create an online program. Let's say it does solve the problem they have. Let's say their problem is hiring. They're like, how do I hire people? Or how do I hire better people? But you create an online program for it. The problem is they're thinking, I don't want to sit through this online program. Instead, you probably should have sold coaching. Then they would have bought the coaching for a really high amount. So that's why you truly, truly, truly want to think about that to begin with. I can't stress that enough. It is the most boring part of everything, but it is also the most important part of everything. And so after you think about that, then you just create the program, to be honest. At that point, you're simply creating the program. What I do with the programs, I start with the sales copy. So it's either a sales copy or just flat out the website. Basically the same thing, really. So what I'm doing is I'm not actually creating the program. I'm not filming the videos or anything. I tend to start with the sales copy because I'm thinking, well, what exactly, like when I create the sales copy, I create it in a very persuasive way, and then I create the program based around the sales copy. So if I'm sitting there thinking, like, for example, we're going to do an event this year, a workshop, and I'm thinking, all right, the workshop's going to be about building and monetizing an audience, selling expertise, going to be around that. So, what can I do with the workshop? So I'm going to go build the website. As I'm building the website, I come up with ideas like, oh, it'd be cool if people were able to come into the high rise and film videos, and we could film ads right here, right now, while they're at the event. And so I'm thinking of that inside of my head as I'm creating the website. And so when I think of that, then it's easier for me to create the program around it versus if I just create a program, I just come up with content and it's just, who knows if people are going to like it. So that's essentially what I do to begin with. I start out with the audience, then you start with the actual creating the program. But before I create the program, I create the sales page or the website page. Then at that point, you're just asking yourself, how do you create the actual content? So are you creating videos, audios? What exactly are you doing? One thing that I recommend is you don't just create audios. If you just create audios, then well, it's almost like the same amount of effort that you go into creating an audio is the exact same in terms of creating a video, except with a video, you get two things done at the same time. You have a video, and at the same time, you can strip the audio out. So I see no reason whatsoever to create an audio in terms of your programs. Every single audio that I have inside the Speak Pro Academy, it was all recorded as a video first. Every single piece of audio. After I recorded it as a video, I asked myself, I said, okay, do I really need the video part? And if I didn't, I would just strip out the whole video part, and then I just have the audio. So that's what I'm doing in terms of creating the program. You create the program, you're just asking yourself, what equipment do I need? If you're going to use professional equipment like this, I recommend getting a really good mic at least. Like this is the RE27 mic. Get a really good mic. Your video can literally be your phone if you want. I mean, like here, I got the iPhone. The iPhone's good. I can literally connect this to the iPhone with another device. But that's all you really need to do in terms of the equipment. And then you're simply thinking in terms of like, where am I going to film? So if I were to create a program around building and monetizing an audience, this would be the perfect place to film because I can show the equipment I'm using. I can show the backdrops and how I do everything. I can walk people through everything just through here. In fact, that's what I'm going to do now that I think about it. It sounds like a pretty good program. So essentially you're thinking like, where do I film? You can do a simple thing in terms of just like the PowerPoint slides and doing it like that. You can do that if you want, but you're thinking in terms of that. That's probably the easiest part, to be honest. Once you create that, then it's just a matter of your sales process. The sales process is something that you're going to have to keep doing over and over and over again. So the sales process, or sales funnel, it's simply a Facebook ad or any type of ad, just an ad to a landing page, to an opt-in page, to a thank you page, and then that's a simple funnel. Literally, that's a simple funnel. That funnel allowed me to hit $1 million. That simple funnel. And so at that point, what you're doing is, let's say you have the landing page, or the ad goes to the landing page. On the thank you page, I tend to sell something on the thank you page. From there, they go into your broadcast list, your email broadcast or autoresponder list, however you want. From there, you can do webinars and all that sort of stuff that you want to do. But it's really, really important that you learn how to build the right sales process. The sales process is essentially going to be different based on what you're capable of building. In the beginning, I recommend people build a sales process where you get people on the phone. So what you do is, let's say you got a product, let's say you're in the fitness niche and you build out a fitness product, how to lose 10 pounds in 10 minutes. So you build out a fitness product. Hey, greatest product in the world. So what you do is you set an ad. An ad says, hey, I'm going to show you how to lose weight. Like right now you're 300 pounds. I'm going to show you how to lose weight, son. And so you send them to an opt-in page. Hey, do you want to learn how to lose weight? You're too chubby. And then all of a sudden they enter their name and email. And then they go on the thank you page. On the thank you page, instead of just selling the product instantly, you sell them on the phone call. So the thank you page, they enter their name and email. Bam. Thank you for entering your name and email. I'm going to turn you into Arnold Schwarzenegger. And so you say all that, and then you say this whole thing. All right, so let's talk on the phone. I'm gonna build a plan for you on the phone. Let's talk for 30 minutes. I'm gonna show you how to eat right. We're gonna build out a meal plan for you. We're gonna build out a workout plan, and bam. And that's what you do on the phone. You have a sales copy to do that. Then when you're on the phone, you close them on the phone. And you say, all right, man, here's your plan. Here's this. Would you like me to help you out with that? If they say yes, I want to be Arnold Schwarzenegger, then bam, you sell them the program. That is the easiest sales funnel in terms of conversions and all that, because you're actually talking to them on the phone. And so I really recommend to begin with. Your sales process probably won't work at first. And in fact, I don't know anybody who's really gotten their sales process to work when they first tried this stuff. Because like I said, with everything, it's a skill. You're building up a skill in the beginning. You don't know what you're doing. You don't know how to write sales copy. You don't know any of that stuff. You don't know with the lead magnet, with the opt-in page. You don't know, hey, is this what they really want? You don't really know any of that stuff. So in the beginning, you built the right things. So remember, you have the ad, you have the opt-in page, you have the thank you page. You built it. It's the right things that you should be doing. Now it's a matter of doing those things right. So literally you say, how do I make the best ad possible? How do I make the best opt-in page possible? How do I make the best thank you page possible? And you keep iterating your way to success with those 3 pages. And after that, you can learn webinars and what else? Like emails, promo emails. You can learn all that stuff while you're doing it, but you're perfecting those 3 things: the ad, the opt-in page, and the thank you page. You perfect those 3 things. Once you perfect those, you can start doing a lot of other things as well. But I really, really want to stress the importance of perfecting your sales process. And this is why, so my sales process, what we're doing in terms of this real estate brokerage and all these real estate brokerages, what I do is it's an outreach sales process. It's literally the same thing as that we teach inside the Speak Pro Academy. Exact same thing. The only difference is I'm not selling just a speech. So I'm not approaching them saying, hey, who hires the keynote speakers? I'm not doing that. I'm approaching them in a way to sell the online program. So that's the only difference in terms of what I'm doing. And so if it's not selling, there's a couple reasons why your thing is not selling. So like I said, in the beginning, you're going to build it all out. You're going to say, Benji told me to build this thing out. He said it's going to make me $1 million. So you're going to build it all out. Then you're going to realize, oh, it's not working the way I thought. And so a couple things could be wrong with it. The first thing in terms of why it's not working is what happened to me a long time ago. So I built this whole thing out. I'm like, all right, this thing is bomb.com. But for some reason, I wasn't really getting sales. And I didn't get sales because I didn't really spend a lot of money on ads. So I was spending, let's say, $10 a day, or if that. I don't even think I was spending $10 a day. Maybe $5 a day. But in the beginning, it wasn't really a lot of money that I was spending. And so I wasn't really getting a lot of sales. Like a sale would come in, I'm like, oh man, I spent $20, but I only got $15 total. So it was like that. And so, but then one day, I don't know why I did it, and it made 0 sense whatsoever. I went from, let's say, $10 a day. I say, you know what? What if I just bump it up to $100 a day? That's literally what I did. So what if I just bump it up? I know it's not really making money right now, but what if I just bump it up to $100 a day? So that's what I did. I said, all right, let's just put an extra 0 behind that. And then all of a sudden sales came in. I was like, what the hell? And it was just because Facebook, it wasn't showing the ad to enough people because I wasn't spending enough. And so that's one of the problems in terms of what you're selling. If it's not selling, that can be a problem. You're just not spending enough money on advertising to where you're spending the money, but let's say it shows it to freaking 2 people, and then all of a sudden you lose all your money at that point. So That's one of the reasons why it may not be working in the very beginning. The other reason, and this is usually the main reason, is your offer is weak. This is why I said in the beginning, the number one thing you want to pay attention to in the beginning is the customer. Actually, all the time. I don't know why I keep saying in the beginning. You always want to pay attention to the customer all the time. The more you know the buyer, the easier it is to sell them. When I created the lead magnet for speakers, right? The first lead magnet I created was, here's a list of events that bring in speakers. Here's basically a list of leads. I think it was like 120 or something like that. So I say, here's a list of leads, a list of events that bring in speakers. Download this list. And it's hands down the best lead magnet ever, because I knew that's what speakers wanted, because that's what I wanted. I'm like, hey, if I ever saw an ad that said, hey, here's a list of events that you can contact, I would say, oh shoot, damn, let me sign up for this. Let me contact them real quick. If I ever saw that, I would sign up instantly. Versus if I just saw an ad saying, hey, here's a book on how to get gigs, it'd be like, okay, cool, yeah, maybe, sure, why not? But so that's essentially what happens when you truly know your customer. You truly know what they want. And so that's why if it's not working, it's usually because your offer is weak. Your lead magnet's weak. Your actual offer in terms of what it is you're selling is weak. So your offer tends to be weak. This is one of the things that's really, really hard for people to realize, because they're thinking too much from their perspective. They're saying, here's what I'm selling. I sell this. Instead of really, really thinking about what do people truly want to buy. The other thing in terms of if people aren't buying, it may be because your offer isn't believable. If I were to say to you, give me $1 and I'll give you a Lamborghini. Like if I literally create an ad that said that, and I said, give me $1 and I will give you a Lamborghini. People would literally, I guarantee the comments on that ad, they'd be like, what's the catch? There's a catch. What's the scam? Like everybody would say that. It's human nature. It's not a believable offer. It's a dumbass offer. And so that's why you have to think in terms of, is my offer believable? And this is why, like, when people tend to lie, so I remember seeing a guy, I don't want to say his name, but I'm trying to remember the exact thing he said. He said something like sign up for free and we'll fly you out to a private island for our event, or something like that. It was something like that, like sign up for free, we'll fly you out to our island for free to our event. I looked at all the comments. Everybody was saying like, what's the catch? What's this? This is a scam. Everybody was saying it because the offer wasn't believable. It didn't make sense. And so you have to think, is your offer believable? It's almost like you want to borderline on the ridiculous and then just like tone it down a little bit. And this is something I learned from a copywriter, where he said what he does with copy is he starts out with a very unbelievable offer. He's like, okay, if my audience is realtors, what do realtors really want? Like, what can I really offer realtors? Well, realtors, they want people who are going to buy and sell a house from them. So let's say I created an ad that said, dear realtor, if you sign up to my email list, then I'm going to guarantee that you will get leads that instantly close the second you call them. So, I mean, that's a very unbelievable offer. Like, I guarantee we're going to be able to send you leads, and whoever you call, they're going to want to buy a house from you. I mean, that would be something that realtors would definitely sign up for, but it borderlines on the unbelievable. It's like, that's not really believable. So if I tone it down a little bit, if I say, hey, realtor, sign up and we're going to send you leads of people who are looking to buy or sell houses. At that moment, it has now become a very irresistible offer and a believable offer at the same time. So that's what you do. You start out ridiculous and then you kind of tone it down a little bit. So that's a really good thing that I learned from this copywriter. And the other reason in terms of if your product isn't selling is because you don't really know your audience as well as you think. This is, like I said, probably the biggest reason as to why people don't sell what they want to sell. They just don't really know their audience as well as they think. They keep thinking from their perspective, not from other people's perspective. The other reason in terms of why it's not working is because you probably haven't overcome the skepticism. A lot of people, especially nowadays, everybody thinks scam, scam, scam. Everything's a scam. And so usually the people who think stuff is a scam, they're the ones who are the broke ones. But still, that's a whole other story. Basically, a lot of people are really, really skeptical. So when they see the same offers from multiple people, they see similar offers, they're just really skeptical. So you haven't overcome the skepticism, and you basically do that with your brand and all that. There's a ton of things. Maybe I'll create a whole video on overcoming skepticism. But if people aren't buying, if your sales process isn't working, there may be nothing that you're really saying wrong. People are just too damn skeptical. That may be the problem, and you just haven't overcome that. Another reason in terms of why it's probably not selling is because you're not making enough offers. So a lot of times when people are trying to build and sell their programs, they're just not offering it enough. They're not telling people about it enough. So people just don't remember. And so that's one of the biggest problems. It's one of the reasons why I keep telling people, like, hey, when you're reaching out to people, you constantly just keep reaching out to them. You're sending emails. There's nothing wrong with promoting your stuff all the time. Absolutely nothing wrong. And so maybe you're not making enough offers, and that's why you can't sell the program. In the beginning, when you create the program, creating the program is really easy as long as you truly understand who you're selling to. But you create the program, you create the sales process. The sales process won't work for probably one of those reasons, and then you adjust. You have to adjust as you're going. And so you adjust until it's predictable. So remember what I was doing with the cold emailing in the beginning? I was just cold emailing anybody and everybody. I'm like, all right, let me just freaking cold emailing. Didn't have templates, nothing. Didn't have a lead score. Didn't know what a damn lead score was. Didn't know what a sales cadence was. I was just freaking emailing people. And then as I went, I essentially mastered it, and I essentially got more detailed about what I was trying to do. And so the same goes with your programs, where in the beginning, remember, you build out a Facebook ad or an ad, the opt-in page, the thank you page, and then it's like, all right, I think those will work. And then all of a sudden it doesn't work for one of the reasons. Now you keep adjusting until you get it to work. And so you just adjust until it's a very predictable sales process. What you want to do is you want to stick with one way until you hit at least 6 figures with that one way. So if you say my one way is going to be the phone call thing, remember, so you do an ad to an opt-in page, and then the thank you page is going to sell them on the phone call, and the phone call is where you're going to close them. You do that thing until you hit 6 figures. That's what you do. Let's say you say, all right, I'm going to do this phone call thing until I hit 150 grand. After that, I'm going to now do the webinar. Or let's say you flip it. You're like, all right, I'm going to do an ad to an opt-in page instantly to a webinar. I'm going to keep doing this thing over and over and over again until I hit 150 grand, 250 grand, however much you want to make, and then you switch to something else. That's what you want to do, because each thing is going to require different skills. When you're on the phone and you're trying to close people on the phone, you got to remember, hey, let me ask questions instead of talk all the time. You got to do little things like that. If you're doing a webinar, you got to think, okay, how do I reveal information without revealing too much information? How do I persuade instead of just giving a ton of freaking content? So you got to master that in the webinars. And so until you master that, you won't actually generate revenue. And that's what you want to do in terms of selling your program. And then you want to also adjust how you describe your offer. So if you are selling your online program, let's say it's a sales training, you say, hey, this is a cold calling sales training. I'm going to teach you how to be the best freaking cold caller in the world. You're going to freaking call anybody, say 2 words. They're going to be like, please, I want to give you my money. Like, that's how good of a cold caller you're going to be. And so you're going to sell this program, and you send an email, and all of a sudden people don't, or some people buy, some people don't. Now you adjust it a little bit. So instead of sending them to the regular sales page, you now send them to a video. And then they look at the video, and then you adjust the offer. You don't say cold calling. You say, I'm going to teach you how to close. I'm going to teach you how to sell. And like you just change different words. It may, in your mind, you're thinking these words are the same thing, but in their mind, it's very different. It's like a magician versus illusionist. It's something I learned a long time ago. When I describe myself as a magician, people are like, oh, can you do my kids' parties? I'm like, get your kid away from me. I want you stupid kid. I ain't doing no kid parties. Get away from me. And so that's what happened when I described myself as a magician. Then when I said illusionist, nobody ever said, can you do a kid's party for me? I'm like, yeah, that's right. And then I became a mentalist, and once again, everything changed, all because of just a simple word change. But magician and illusionist, same thing. And the same goes with your actual programs. If you're literally just describing words very differently. So for example, cold calling, or you use the word outreach. Those words are the same thing. It's the same. Outreach, cold calling, same thing. But when you describe it differently, it may bring up different visualizations inside of people's brains, and all of a sudden they want to buy what you're selling. So that's what you're doing. And then when you're trying to sell it, what's going to happen is you're going to get objections. So people are going to ask you all sorts of questions. And this is why the phone is so good, because on the phone, you're going to have real objections. In an email, you can't really see the objections. There's nothing you can do in email. On the phone, though, you can actually feel the objections people have, the lies they come up with on the phone, right? And so what you're going to do is you're going to listen really close to those objections. And one of the things that I do is I actually have a file of objections. So the file, whenever I create a program, I create a file called objections. And whenever I get an email from somebody where they ask a question about something, I'll put it inside the objections. It's like objections / frequently asked questions. So I put it inside the objections and the questions thing. So if they say, for example, the Speak Pro Academy, speakers would always say in the beginning, does this work in my country? Does this work with my topic? In the beginning, I was like, dude, that is a dumbass question. What you talking about? Does it work in your country? Does it work on your topic? Do you know how to send an email to somebody? Does sending an email work in your freaking country? Damn it. What you talking about? Does this work in your country? Like, I thought it was a dumb question to me, but people would ask it so many times. I'm like, all right, man, let me put this in the objection thing. And so that's what I did. So what you do is you look for questions people are asking, to the objections people have before they buy, little things like that. And that's going to help you just sell more of it, put it all into a document. What you're really doing is just improving the product over time. So like Speak Pro Academy, remember in the beginning, it was literally 12 videos. That's literally all it was. I can't remember. I think I sold it for like $200 in the beginning. Then I went to $500. Then I just went straight up to $2,000. And it was still 12 videos when it was at $2,000. And then all of a sudden, I just added a boatload of stuff. So much is inside Speak Pro Academy. Everybody gets overwhelmed. And so you keep thinking about how do you improve it. So when I added all this extra stuff inside of there, people are asking me, hey, what about templates? What about this? I'm adding all this stuff inside of there. Poof, it just grows. It grows. And then I realized, oh, everybody's getting overwhelmed. Let me start a Facebook group. That way I can actually support everybody. That way I can actually answer questions and go over conversations people are having with events, help them close events, things like that. And so it just naturally, you keep improving it. You don't build it once and that's it. You keep thinking about, all right, what are questions people are asking? What are the members asking in terms of how to make it better? So that's what you're doing. But ultimately, in terms of actually building an online product for your speaking business, what you really want to do is you really want to pay attention to the people that you're selling to. I can't stress that part enough. You have to pay so much attention to them that it's almost like, it's like 99 them, 1 you, like 99% them, 1% you, or even like 99.9% them and then 0.1% you. The more you think from their perspective, the easier everything is. So if you just get that part right, you'll get the ad right. You'll easily know how to write the ad. You'll get the opt-in page right. You'll get the thank you page right. You'll get everything right just because you truly understand who you're selling to. So when I was selling to the brokers, I mean, I understand all the real estate agents. Like, my mom's a realtor, so I'm sitting there like asking her questions about what's going on inside of realtors' heads. I'm listening to all the stuff that she talks about with real estate. So I get realtors and I get the brokers just by talking to them. So before I actually started contacting them, I truly understood them. And so everything else at that point, it was a lot easier. So that's really what you're doing in terms of selling your online programs with the speaking business. And that's that. So let's see. Wani said, from a calendar perspective, what month should we be looking for to be booked for events? I'm getting a lot of responses of, we've already hired our speaker for the event, but if you want to be considered for next year, then please reach out to so-and-so. Targeting events and the dates. All right. So this is something that's very common, actually. It doesn't really matter what month or anything. That is actually a good response. This is what a lot of speakers don't do. they get a response saying, we're good to go. Like you send out an email, I'm the greatest motivational speaker in the world. Hire me, son. And they're like, oh man, we great, but we already have our speakers. And the speaker's like, oh, okay. And then they just go on to another event. That's the wrong way to do it. Instead, you say, okay, perfect. I know they hire speakers. Let me save this information for next year. And you contact them for the next year's event. Speakers, for some reason, they don't save that lead. That is actually a really, really good response when they say, hey, we already have our speakers this year. That literally tells you they pay speakers and they're willing to bring in all the speakers. So that's what that tells you. It's just an indicator. This is why you have to truly understand the lag time. So the lag time is between when you contact an event and when they hire you. When you contact the event, all sorts of things are happening. One, they're probably not even planning the event at that moment. Two, maybe they did plan it and everything's done already. Or three, I don't know what three is, but basically it's one of those two usually, or three, they are looking for a speaker at that moment. The looking for the speaker at that moment part, that rarely happens. You rarely contact somebody at the right moment in time. That damn near almost never happens. And so that's why you have to be prepared for the lag time. That's why you got to follow up. That's why you got to use the Speak Pro system and all the email templates with the follow-ups, all that sort of stuff, because you almost never contact them at that moment when they're truly deciding on hiring a speaker. It's always before they're like, we haven't even considered this year's event yet. It's always at that moment, or it's after, like, oh, we're good to go. You almost never get them right at that exact moment because it's a short window of time. And so all you're doing is you're simply making them aware of you by sending out the emails. And then at that point, if they say, hey, we're good to go this year, you now ask them, hey, well, when are you guys planning next year? And then sometimes they respond, sometimes they don't. Either way, it doesn't matter. You simply follow up with them for next year. So let's say, what is it, February 7th? So let's say their event is today. And they're like, all right, we're good to go. Or no, let's say their event is February 20th. So I contact them. They're like, oh, we're good to go. Our event is actually on the 20th and we're good to go. I say, okay, cool. So I know, let me schedule time to talk to them. I'm not going to schedule time to talk to them at the end of February. That'd be dumb because they're just finishing. They're definitely not planning anything. So I'm going to schedule a time to talk with them. Let's say, maybe, I guess it depends on how big the event is, but let's say June or something. So the bigger the event, the further out you're going to contact them. So that's what you're really doing. But ultimately, you never contact them at the right moment. They always say things like that. That's not a bad thing. It's just a matter of you just keep following up with them. So that's all you're really doing. All right. So Ari says screen is frozen. All right. I think I'm good on my end. All right, so let's see. Wani said, I actually finished working on the whole list yesterday. Got a hot lead from it. Gig in New York. Made a short list of speakers they are considering. Cool. He said, Nick said, is the product as important as how well it's marketed? Yes and no. So it's almost like two different things, really. So you can sell a product, and it can be a sucky product. Like you can be a great salesman, it can be a sucky product. The problem with selling a sucky product is nobody's ever going to recommend it. Everybody's going to ask for refunds, and you're going to get charges against your merchant account, and then your merchant account may get shut down, all that sort of stuff. So you got to think of it as two different things. It's very similar to anything, really. There's the skill, the talent, and then there's the actual selling of that skill and talent. Is one of the reasons why you see so many people who are great singers, like on American Idol, X Factor, The Voice, all that sort of stuff. They're great singers, but nobody knows who they are because they're great at that talent, at that skill, but they're not great at selling it. And so when you create your product, you have to have both in order for your business to actually succeed. It's like what I was talking about with a friend the other day on his podcast. We were talking about just people just screwing each other over. Like it doesn't make sense to screw somebody over because in the long term, you're not going to build a real business. Like if you build something big, your ass is going to go to prison because of how big it was. You freaking turned into Bernie Madoff and screwed so many people over. Your ass is going to prison. It's just not worth it. So you might as well build a bomb ass product and be a bomb ass marketer at the same time. Now in the beginning, what you think is amazing, the product, it may not be all that amazing. And so you just build the best product you can. And that's why I keep saying you got to keep improving it. You keep looking for ways to improve the product. You don't wait. You just say, all right, how do I make this better? How do I make this better? You keep doing that, but you create the product to where it's as good as possible right now. You market the product because you're trying to master the marketing. And then all of a sudden you realize, hey, I got the sales process down, the marketing down. People are buying the thing. Now let me truly try to figure out how to improve this product. That's what you're really doing. That's like the cycle that you're always engaged in, just nonstop. And a really easy way to know if your product is good or not is just based on the amount of refunds people ask for. So if everybody's asking for refunds for your product, then it's probably a bad product. So like the authority product, when people sign up to the email list, they usually get offered the authority product, which is a $49 program. This $49 program, I could easily charge a few $100 for this program. I think out of everybody who's bought the program, I haven't even gotten more than 10 refunds on this thing. And this is one where I actually do offer a money back guarantee. So like Speak Pro Academy, well, everything I say to people, there is no money back guarantee on my products. The only exception is the authority product because it's the first product people see when they hear about me. And so that's the only one because I want the buyer and I don't want to scare them away. So that's why I say, hey, money back guarantee. And so I've only gotten like freaking 10 refund requests out of that product. And so that just lets me know, all right, we're selling a lot of these freaking products. Only not even 1% have asked for refunds. That lets me know this is definitely worth the $49 we're asking for. And so that's a sign in terms of whether or not your product is really good. All right, let's see. So Wendy said, I responded and asked when they start looking for speakers for the next year's event. Nice. Cool. So let's see. Ari said, all right, this was a response when they told me that they were going with someone else. Cool. All right, she said, yes, they're going with so-and-so. This was the last session to fill because they wanted a female on the agenda. Anything to do with this knowledge. You should be like, what? So you guys are discriminating against men? No. So yeah, when they do that, it's the same thing in terms of you just contact them next year. Like, okay, well, when are you guys hiring speakers for next year? So I easily say that. A lot of times they won't respond to that, but I still say it anyways, because if they do respond to it, it literally gives you the exact time when you need to follow up with them. If they don't respond, I just take a guess. I'm like, okay, let's see, at least 6 months in advance. I'll do it at least 6 months in advance. Even if it's a really small event, I'll do it 6 months in advance. And then if it's a bigger event, I'll do like 8 months in advance or something. So that's what I do. With bigger events, I'll contact them probably even a month after the actual event, because the bigger the event, the further they plan the whole thing. So that's what I do with that. But yeah, I can't stress this enough, guys. When they've already hired speakers, the agenda is full. Don't delete those leads. Don't never contact them again. That is a good sign when they say that. It just means they didn't hire you at that time. That's all it means. So you're just going to contact them for next year. So that's what you have to do. All right, so got all the questions there. All right, I guess we are good to go for today. There's actually not going to be a Facebook Live tomorrow, so we're going to start up again. I'm thinking, Monday, because my friend's coming in town tomorrow, so I told him I wouldn't do business stuff while he's in town. I'm going to be thinking about it 24/7. I'll probably do some stuff, but I told him I wasn't going to. I told him I wasn't going to just be obsessed with it. All right, so we're going to probably start Monday again with the Facebook Live. So I will see you guys on Monday, 9 a.m. Pacific time. And by the way, guys, I'm really, really going to do this whole workshop event in terms of just building and monetizing an audience. So if you guys want to do it, make sure you send me an email, info@speakinglifestyle.com. Let me know your interest in it, and then we'll probably plan it out. Not probably, I'm going to plan it out. It's just a matter of who's going to be there. All right, so I will see you guys Monday, 9 a.m. Pacific time. Take care, everybody.